The sun had begun its slow crawl above the jagged ridges of the desert, spilling golden light across the cracked earth. Cole Raines, known across the frontier worlds as the Cowboy, moved quietly over the rough terrain. His wide-brimmed hat shaded his eyes, and the dust-colored scarf around his neck did little to hide the scars that mapped his weathered face. Years of chasing raiders, surviving storms, and escaping traps had taught him one thing: the desert could kill just as easily as any enemy. He had learned to read the land as one reads a book, knowing where danger might lie even before it made itself visible. Cole paused on a ridge, scanning the canyon below. In the distance, a small convoy of hover wagons wound their way through the dusty valley. His sharp eyes caught movement he did not expect. Figures on the wagons were not ordinary settlers. They were being watched, and not by mere curiosity. Shadows lurked on the surrounding cliffs. The Syndicate Raiders, a ruthless group of alien-human mercenaries, had been tracking these settlers for days. Cole's jaw tightened. He had faced them before. They were organized, cruel, and had no respect for life. But he had something they did not: experience and instinct honed over countless dangerous encounters. His hand hovered over the handle of his blaster, a custom weapon he had crafted himself. It wasn't just the tool that mattered. It was knowing when to use it. And Cole had learned that sometimes survival depended more on timing than on firepower. As he crouched behind a boulder, memories surged unbidden from a long-ago summer in the canyons of a now-forgotten mining world. He had been young then, inexperienced and reckless, exploring the abandoned tunnels of the hills in search of treasure and adventure. A sudden collapse had trapped him in the shadows, far from any hope of rescue. Hunger and thirst clawed at him, and fear weighed heavily on his heart. That was when he had seen them. 3 girls, not much older than he was at the time, moving through the canyon with remarkable grace. Their presence had felt almost supernatural. One of them reached him with a quick, decisive action, cutting through debris and dragging him to safety. He remembered the tattoo clearly. It was etched across their arms in intricate lines and curves, a symbol he could never forget. Even then, it had seemed to shine with a quiet power, as though it carried a message beyond the simple ink of skin. He had never known what it meant, only that it had saved him. That day had changed him, made him who he was now. Snapping back to the present, Cole's gaze sharpened. Among the convoy, he saw the same tattoo etched on the arm of one of the girls being held by the raiders. Recognition sparked a fire within him, a mix of gratitude, responsibility, and fierce determination. He remembered the life he had been given, and now, years later, he had the chance to repay it. "Stop, I'll take them," he muttered under his breath, letting the words anchor his courage. Cole moved swiftly, almost like a shadow across the sun-baked canyon floor. He used the terrain to his advantage, keeping the convoy and its captors within sight but out of range of detection. The raiders were not careless, and a frontal attack would have been suicide. He knew he had to think several steps ahead. Observing their patrol patterns, noting the rhythm of their hover wagons, he began to plan. Every moment counted. The convoy slowed near a narrow pass, the canyon walls rising like guards on either side. It was the perfect place to strike, and Cole felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. Years of survival in hostile worlds had taught him patience, and now it paid off. He gathered a handful of jagged stones, testing their weight in his palm. The raiders were high-tech, but even the most advanced sensors had weaknesses. Cole's knowledge of sound, timing, and distraction could turn any simple tool into a weapon. He began his move. A stone skipped across the dusty ground, clattering against a rock with a carefully calculated echo. Heads turned, patrols shifted, and Cole used the confusion to close the distance. He darted between boulders, almost invisible in his careful movements. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. He was not just moving. He was reading, adapting, predicting. The raiders were sophisticated fighters, but they underestimated human instinct. Cole had learned that the mind of a human could often outmatch the machinery of an alien-trained soldier. He remembered the faces of the girls who had saved him, their courage and skill, and it gave him strength. He was not just fighting for a rescue. He was honoring a debt, a promise etched in memory and marked by the tattoo. The convoy rounded a bend, and Cole saw the moment to act. A low hiss from a rock slide startled the patrol closest to the cliff's edge. Cole had timed it perfectly. With a swift motion, he used the terrain to his advantage, forcing the raiders into a small bottleneck. They tried to regroup, but his presence was sudden, unexpected. He leaped from cover, blaster drawn, and shouted once more, louder this time, "Stop! I'll take them." The command carried not just authority but a deep, almost primal determination. The raiders paused, surprised by the audacity of this lone human. Cole did not wait for hesitation. He moved fast, disabling the first guard with precision, a clean strike that left him unharmed but out of the fight. The others scrambled, trying to regroup, but Cole's knowledge of the land gave him the upper hand. He anticipated their moves, using boulders, shadows, and the canyon's curves to his advantage. From the convoy, the three girls, Lila, Naya, and Suna, exchanged quick glances. Recognition sparked in their eyes. They understood who had come for them. The tattoo they shared was more than a mark. It was a legacy of survival and courage. Seeing Cole risk everything for them reaffirmed their belief in the strength of humans. These were not ordinary settlers. These were humans who had learned to thrive in impossible conditions, who trusted their instincts and each other. Cole's strategy unfolded flawlessly. One by one, he isolated the raiders, forcing them into positions where escape was impossible without confrontation. Yet despite the danger, he did not strike recklessly. He had learned that violence was a tool, not a solution. His goal was rescue, not revenge. Every movement was precise, calculated, and deliberate. The canyon echoed with tension as Cole and the raiders circled each other in a deadly dance of wit and reflexes. Dust kicked up in swirling clouds, catching the light of the setting sun. The convoy remained a heartbeat away, and the girl's presence reminded Cole of why he could not fail. This was more than survival. This was honor. Finally, a distraction from the terrain itself, a loose rock giving way, allowed Cole to make a daring move. He vaulted onto a ridge, using height to his advantage, and drew the attention of the raiders just long enough for the girls to slip free. Lila, Naya, and Suna moved like shadows themselves, blending with the canyon walls. Guided by instinct and skill honed over years of living on the frontier, Cole watched them disappear into safety and allowed himself a brief, satisfied breath. But he knew the battle was not over. The raiders would regroup and the desert was unforgiving, yet he felt a deep, unwavering confidence. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and they would again. Their ingenuity, courage, and unity were unmatched. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the canyon, Cole took a moment to reflect. The tattoo on the girl's arms was more than ink. It was a symbol of resilience, hope, and human excellence. It had saved him once, and now it guided him again. He tightened his grip on his blaster and moved forward, ready for whatever came next. The desert was quiet, but not for long. Somewhere in the canyon, the syndicate raiders were regrouping, plotting, and underestimating the cowboy and the humans he protected. But Cole smiled faintly, a calm and determined expression. Humans had a way of turning the tide in the darkest moments, and this time, he would make sure no one underestimated them again. Every step he took echoed with purpose, and every heartbeat reminded him why he fought: for honor, for life, and for the legacy of the tattoo that had once saved him. The story of courage and survival was far from over. Cole moved silently through the canyon, following the faint traces of dust kicked up by the convoy and the raiders. The sun had begun to sink behind the cliffs, leaving the desert bathed in a warm, fading glow. Shadows stretched across the rough terrain, providing cover for Cole as he advanced. He had always known the desert could hide danger as easily as it could hide opportunity. Tonight, it offered both. The stronghold where the raiders had taken the settlers was visible now in the distance. It was a massive structure built into the cliffs, combining human construction with alien technology. Lights flickered from within, signaling movement, while strange humming machines marked the edges of the platform. Cole's eyes narrowed. To outsiders, this place might seem impenetrable, but he had faced worse. The desert had taught him patience, cunning, and the ability to read every shadow and sound as a possible advantage. He crouched behind a boulder, studying the layout. The stronghold was guarded by patrols moving with mechanical precision. Drones hovered in the air, scanning the area for intruders. Cole's mind raced, thinking through every possible route, every timing pattern, and every distraction he could create. He had no intention of charging in recklessly. He knew that success depended on patience, planning, and a little daring luck. Suddenly, movement caught his attention. The three girls, Lila, Naya, and Suna, emerged from the shadows of a ridge. They had been tracking the raiders from the other side, waiting for Cole to make the first move. Recognition sparked in their eyes as they saw him. He had come for them just as they had once saved him. The tattoo on their arms glowed faintly in the dim light, a symbol of protection and courage that reminded Cole of his debt and purpose. Without a word, the girls began signaling subtle gestures. They had learned long ago to communicate silently, relying on instinct and practice. Cole understood immediately. They were ready to help him infiltrate the stronghold. Together they would form a team of unmatched coordination, human skill, courage, and cleverness against alien technology and mercenary force. Cole moved first, slipping past a drone using the shadows of the cliffs. He pressed his back against the cool stone and listened carefully. The guards walked their patrol paths in perfect rhythm, but he noticed a slight delay every few minutes as they exchanged messages with the command center. Timing his movements to these micropauses, he advanced slowly, never making a sound. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. The girls followed, matching his movements with grace. They carried small tools and devices, not weapons, relying on their speed, agility, and intelligence to overcome obstacles. Together, they approached the main entrance, a massive metal door guarded by two heavily armed raiders. Cole studied their positions, noting the patterns of their attention. A simple noise from a distant boulder distracted them just long enough. Using the distraction, Lila and Suna slipped past one guard while Cole pressed a small device against the other's equipment, temporarily disabling his sensors. Inside the stronghold, the corridors were dark and narrow, lit by dim, flickering lights. The air hummed with alien energy, strange machines lining the walls. Cole moved confidently, guiding the girls through the labyrinthine structure. They paused occasionally, listening for the subtle clicks and hums that indicated patrols. Cole's heart raced, but his mind remained clear. Fear was never an option. Only focus and determination mattered. They reached a central chamber where the hostages were held. The settlers were frightened but unharmed, confined behind energy barriers that pulsed with light. Cole scanned the room, noting the control panel at the far end. Lila whispered instructions, pointing out weak points in the barrier's energy field. Working quickly, they coordinated a precise sequence to deactivate the restraints without alerting the guards. The settlers' eyes widened in amazement as the barriers fizzled and vanished. But just as hope began to spread, alarms blared. The raiders had discovered the intrusion. Footsteps echoed through the corridors, growing louder with each passing second. Cole's eyes met the girls, and without speaking, they understood the plan. Retreat was impossible. They had to move forward, using their skills and ingenuity to outsmart the enemy. Cole led the settlers through a side passage, carefully choosing the path that would minimize exposure. The raiders pursued relentlessly, but humans had an advantage the machines could not match: intuition. Cole anticipated their moves, using narrow corridors, uneven terrain, and sudden shifts in lighting to create confusion. Lila and Naya guided the settlers, keeping them calm and moving with speed. Suna disabled security drones using quick, clever hacks she had prepared in advance. The chase reached a critical point at a high walkway overlooking a molten pit. The raiders tried to trap them, but Cole had already anticipated this. He signaled the girls, and together they activated a series of countermeasures, dropping nets, triggering small controlled collapses, and creating obstacles that slowed the enemy. The settlers moved behind them, safe for the moment, while the raiders struggled to regain control. Cole felt a surge of pride. Humans had been underestimated for too long, relying on instinct, intelligence, and cooperation to overcome obstacles far greater than themselves. Every move they made, every strategy employed, highlighted the ingenuity and courage unique to their species. The tattoo on the girl's arm seemed to glow brighter in the heat of the moment, a symbol of resilience and unity that inspired everyone around them. At the edge of the stronghold, Cole reached for the control panel that governed the entire facility. With a few precise manipulations, he disabled the central security system, turning the raiders' technological advantage into a liability. Machines hummed and sparked, and the remaining patrols faltered. The settlers, guided by Lila and Naya, moved swiftly to safety as Cole faced the raiders one last time. The confrontation was brief but decisive. Cole's movements were sharp, controlled, and entirely calculated. He disarmed the raiders without unnecessary force, demonstrating skill and dominance rather than aggression. The girls assisted, using their agility and intelligence to neutralize threats while keeping everyone safe. Within moments, the stronghold fell silent, the enemy subdued, and the settlers free. Cole turned to the girls, a smile breaking across his weathered face. "We did it," he said simply. No words could fully capture the relief, pride, and sense of accomplishment that filled the moment. The settlers gathered around, gratitude shining in their eyes. They had witnessed the courage, intelligence, and unity that made humans extraordinary. The girls glanced at the tattoo on their arms, the symbol that had connected them to Cole across time and distance. It had once saved him, and now it had guided him in saving others. The moment felt almost sacred, a quiet acknowledgement that humans were capable of remarkable deeds when they worked together, trusted their instincts, and remained courageous even in the face of impossible odds. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, Cole and the girls led the settlers away from the stronghold. The desert stretched endlessly before them, harsh and unforgiving yet alive with possibility. Cole knew that challenges would come again. The universe was full of dangers. But he also knew that humans had a way of rising to every challenge, often in ways that surprised even themselves. They paused atop a ridge, looking back at the stronghold now smoldering in the last rays of sunlight. Cole felt a deep satisfaction, but more than that, a renewed belief in the strength of humanity. The settlers had been freed, the raiders defeated, and a bond of trust and courage had been strengthened among them all. "Thank you," Lila said softly, her voice carrying more than words. It was a recognition of the courage, skill, and heart that Cole and the humans had shown. The girl's tattoo caught the fading light, a reminder of the past, the present, and the hope of the future. Cole tipped his hat, a gesture both simple and profound. "We're just humans," he said, "but sometimes that's more than enough." The words resonated through the canyon, echoing against the cliffs and mingling with the quiet wind. It was a statement of truth, a celebration of the ingenuity, courage, and resilience that defined humanity across time and space. Together, they moved forward into the desert, not as lone survivors but as a united force. Humans had proven once again that no matter the odds, they could endure, adapt, and triumph. And as they disappeared into the twilight, the tattoo on the girl's arms glowed faintly, a symbol of heroism, legacy, and the enduring spirit of humanity. The story of Cole and the three girls would be remembered, not just for the daring rescue, but for the proof that humans, guided by courage, unity, and cleverness, could face any challenge and emerge victorious. It was a reminder that in a vast universe full of unknown dangers, humanity itself was a force to be reckoned with.